pharmaceutical companies are the single biggest source of revenue for a lot of media companies, and they're buying the protection with that money.
And that's another perverse incentive, right?
Absolutely. I think we're one of only 2 countries in the world that allow that. Can that be stopped?
There are those that...
So it's us in New Zealand, just for, and I believe New Zealand has heavy regulations against that sort of thing. If you think about it, advertising pharmaceutical products to the general public, what does that even mean? What does it do? Most people don't even think about it. But if you stop and you think, why? Why would you do something like that? Right? So I'm not a doctor. I have never gone to a law school. Why am I seeing a commercial for a GPL1, whatever the hell that shit is called? Right? Why am I seeing a commercial for Ozempic? Why am I seeing a commercial for, just name the drug, right? Chantix or whatever. I mean, Chantix is stop smoking, so that maybe that, right? But I'm not a medical professional, so you showing me. So I see a commercial of a guy, on a park, flying around with nice music, and then I'm supposed to go to my doctor and say, "Hey, can you give me that thing that I saw in the commercial?" Does that make any sense to you guys? No, it doesn't make any sense at all. So what is the purpose of it? So when you start to think about what the purpose of it is, I'm not sure if they're going to get into it in this clip, but in my opinion, the purpose is to buy influence. Right? You're buying influence. Every one of these networks, every one of these channels also has a news component to it, where the CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox, all of the cable news networks, they all have obviously the cable news networks do, but even the regular networks have a news component. So if you're throwing out all these advertisements and you become a good share of their revenue, how are they ever going to go say anything against you? How is anything ever going to be reported on fairly and accurately if they're funneling money to you? I mean, that's one of you have to stop and think about that, because it's a wild concept. We're one of the only countries that allows that. I don't know. Let's see what they say.
That's a question that we are looking at right now, and there's a bad Supreme Court case from a couple of years ago that essentially anointed pharmaceutical advertising the First Amendment protection. The First Amendment protects political speech. So if you're saying something, political, you should have absolute protection under the First Amendment. If commercial speech has a lower level of protection, and the pharmaceutical advertising was regulated as commercial speech, and it was until 1990, really around 1992. It was you didn't see pharmaceutical advertising. There was no direct-to-consumer advertising on TV. And after that, and then there were more changes made in 1997. That's when it became, it exploded. And today, Roger Ailes, who both you and I knew, I had this very Roger Ailes, for your audience who doesn't know him, which I think most of them do, was the founder of Fox News. And I had this odd relationship with him because politically we were at loggerheads, but I had spent, when I was 19 years old, I spent 3 months with him in a tent in Africa. And we developed a friendship then. And as you know, he was very engaging guy. He was very witty, really fun to be with. Very paranoid, but at the same time, brilliant.
Yes.
And so he was very kind to me. He was a very loyal friend to me, and he would make Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly and Neil Cavuto and all of the other hosts, who your former colleagues, put me on TV to talk about the environment. Even though he didn't agree with me on it, he made them put me on. So during the 80s and 90s, I was the only environmentalist who was going on Fox News. But I brought him one time this around, I think it was like 2014, I brought him a documentary that we had done about mercury in vaccines. And he watched it. He was completely sold on it. He had a family member who had been affected, he felt. And he said, but I can't put you on, because if I did, if any of my hosts allowed you on to talk about this issue, I would have to fire them. And if I didn't, I would get a call from Rupert within 10 minutes. And he said, for the evening news division, about 75% of the advertising revenues are coming from pharma. And then he told me something.
Bingo. There you go. 75% of ad revenue is coming from pharma. I mean, that really says it all. This is a tremendous interview. It's about an hour and a half. I have watched the entire thing. I just didn't know what this particular clip was exactly going to be about. But guys, please give this thing a watch. Like it is really fantastic. We'll do a little bit more and see where it goes, because RFK can talk, man. The guy won't stop.
Something that, if I remember it correctly, he said that on a typical evening news show, there are 22 ads, and 17 of those are pharmaceutical ads. And so this was the principal source of revenue. And for a lot of these television networks, it's keeping them alive. As you know, they're all, kind of collapsing financially.
Yes. Collapsing due to lack of popular demand for their presence.
Right.
So could you end that? Do you have the authority as the Secretary of Health and Human Services to say no more pharma ads on television?
Well, a lot of the pharmaceutical ads are misleading.
He dances around this question, and I'm not too happy with that. He should have just said either no, he can't, he doesn't have the authority to, and then Tucker could say, okay, then who does? Or yes, I can and I will. He doesn't do that. So that's a little bit disappointing. I have to admit, like, I can understand RFK's position now, because he's actually at the NIH. I believe he's at the NIH, or he's head of FDA. No, I believe he's at the NIH. I gotta take a look and see what he's heading up. But because he is in his official capacity, I'm sure there are things that he can and cannot say at this point. He's a very smart man. He's gone through a ton of litigation. So I'm just really hoping that him saying what he's saying, he's just kind of like downplaying what he's going to try to do at the very least. Because, I'll let it play on a little bit, and then we'll just wrap it up there.
Yeah. And even the music and the video, the photos that they show, the scenes that they show that's kind of speech, and it's misleading. It's sending a message. And if you take this drug, you're going to be riding Chester skis and playing volleyball and water skiing and
have a great looking spouse,
right?
Happy kids.
The side effects, meanwhile, are rolling, at 80 miles an hour, and that's misleading. And so one of the things that that we're looking at is making them be more honest about what they show.
Last year we did.
I mean, not the best. I'm a little. I'm definitely upset about it now that I've heard it again for the second time. There's a couple instances of this where, Tucker kind of, essentially says, all this time you've been saying this stuff, and you're the one that notified us all that this was going on. So can you stop it now? And he always kind of pulls back and says, I can't stop it, but I can fix it a little bit. That's not what people wanted to hear. People wanted to hear that you're going to get on this. And again, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And if for some reason he can't get ahead of it, that's fine. But in the end, if all that happens is that there's a few more, regulations and some more red tape for these people to jump through, it's going to be the same shit. And it's very upsetting. It's very upsetting. I really had high hopes for him in this position. I really thought, he was going to, just tear the damn thing down and rebuild it from the ground up. But let's see what happens ultimately in the end. Like again with just like with Trump and all these other people, there are instances where they're doing something and you're just like, damn it, can you just do the thing that we all wanted you to do? But then ultimately you kind of get at least between 60 and 80% of it, and then you just got to be like, all right, that's part of it. You're never going to get everything that you wanted. It's just not going to happen. That's the world that we live in. But yeah, it is an excellent interview. little bit disappointed in a couple of parts, but for the most part, really great interview. He really does blow the lid off a bunch of stuff that, his father, CIA, JFK, it's a wild ride. And I can't believe he said most of the stuff that he said while being actually a part of the administration. Guys, give me a like, give me a share, give me a subscribe if you can. Drop down in the comments. We could talk about it. Join me on X, 6283 Talk on X, and I will see you there. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming out. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot.